Joining us now on set, Javier Manjarres from Shark Tank, and joining us via Skype from Charlotte, North Carolina, Dr. Richard Land, who is the president of the Southern Evangelical Seminary. Gentlemen, we thank you both for joining us. And Dr. Land, let's begin with you. What do you make of the Vice President's pronouncements? Theological or totally political?
Well, simplistic for starters, and wrong-headed secondly, and a total conflation of what he's calling cultural and social values with what are very often deeply held religious convictions.
Javier, go ahead.
Religious convictions about homosexuality are not cultural values. They're deeply held religious convictions. And, you know, this, speaking as a Christian, I am called upon by my Savior to treat everyone humanely, but I'm also called upon to uphold biblical standards of morality. And the Bible, especially in the New Testament, is quite clear that homosexual behavior and lesbian behavior is a rebellion against God's order, and perhaps the ultimate rebellion against God's creation is transgenderism. You know, I was born this way, but I don't want to be this way, so I'm going to change my gender. I don't know how you could have a more ultimate rebellion against God's creation and God's order than that. And for Joe Biden to put the U.S. government on the side of lowering religious convictions to the level of cultural and social values is ignorant at best and malicious at worst.
Javier, you're here because you often deal with politics. Politics is reflective of values. Suffice it to say, and Dr. Land very eloquently laid out the theological reasons he has a problem with what's going on here, but Joe Biden politically, is this where Biden needs to be in terms of his ambition and his terms of being reflective of a change in public sentiment towards same-sex marriage?
Well, obviously he's pandering to his base. If he wants any chance of winning in 2016 or winning the Democrat nomination, he needs to pander to the base, just like Hillary Clinton will pander to the base as well. Again, this is Joe Biden we're talking about. The punchline here is Joe Biden. You know, as far as same-sex marriage, I agree with the gentleman who just spoke. I believe in the sacrament of marriage. But this is a country that's based on Judeo-Christian values, but we're also based on laws. You know, if same-sex marriage is on the ballot and it wins and people vote for it, then it's the law of the land or the law of that particular state. Look, I am all for same-sex marriage in the sense that, look, homosexual couples should have the same right as every heterosexual couple to lose half their money in a divorce. You know, why not? I mean, it's the American way, I believe.
Well, we still all have some problems with the dissolution of marriage, but we hear the point you're making. Dr. Land, to a broader cultural point, Javier makes mention of what's happened at the ballot box, and it's worth noting that in previous referenda or initiatives around the country, most notably California, there was an overwhelming vote in favor of traditional marriage, and it took going to the courts essentially to get that struck down. But what we're seeing, Dr. Land, demographically, younger people coming up saying, embracing a phrase called marriage equality. Is this a textbook case on how the secular left or libertarian-leaning Americans or those who advocate same-sex relationships have captured the public mind by going after the youngest among us as they mature, keeping that point of view?
Well, I think certainly the left has done a tremendous job. The progressive left has done a tremendous job in popular culture, MTV and you know, popular music, sitcoms, etc., trying to normalize homosexual behavior and normalize homosexual relationships, and to a certain degree have desensitized the millennials to accepting this. But, you know, I would think the last argument that someone who's a proponent of same-sex marriage would want to make would be, let's let popular opinion prevail. Because if popular opinion prevails, in at least 40 of the 50 states in this country, there would not be same-sex marriage. They've won relatively few elections, and you have courts overturning the will of the people. And marriage, so-called marriage equality, forgets one thing. Marriage, the reason that every society in human history has severely regulated marriage, who can get married to whom and under what circumstances, and under what circumstances they can dissolve the relationship, is because of the enormous and unique impact that the institution of marriage has on the next generation of citizens.
Well, you can't deny that, Dr. Lamb, but we just showed a map there real quickly of where gay marriage is legal. And just today, the city of St. Louis challenging Missouri's ban on same-sex marriage. Of course, the state of Utah, judge there recently.
How many of those have been? Is it legal because of popular vote of the people?
Well, I guess that's the case here. My question for you, sir, is as this continues to snowball, we hear Susan Collins, a Republican of Maine, so it's not just the left pandering to their base, as Javier said. This is also more Republicans joining the side of equal rights for gay marriage here. Would the religious right take their vote someplace else if this continues to gain popularity within certain wings of the Republican Party?
Well, I'm not a spokesperson for the religious right.
But maybe say your vote personally.
Well, I'm going to vote my values and my beliefs and my convictions, and I doubt I would have ever voted for Susan Collins had I been foolish enough to live in Maine in the first place.
Fair enough.
People vote with their feet. They're doing this economically. They're doing it socially. That's one reason why we have 50 states. You have a very different experience with government on a daily basis if you live in Texas than if you live in Massachusetts, and I prefer Texas and I prefer North Carolina to Massachusetts, which is where my mother's from, and why I don't live in Massachusetts. I think that you're going to find that social conservatives aren't going to change their convictions because they're convictions and not preferences. And the Republican Party doesn't set my moral values or my social values. I'm looking for candidates who endorse my values. I'm looking for candidates who endorse my beliefs. If I lived in Mississippi, I would not vote for Thad Cochran. Thad Cochran and Haley Barbour and the people who basically stole that primary by cajoling and encouraging
Dr. Lane, we'd love to talk about that with you, but a topic for a different day. I want to real quickly reference what we have up on the screen real quick, and it shows the trend line that you talked about, the popular support gaining for gay marriage. Back in 1996, 68% of the country, according to Gallup, was against gay marriage. Now 55% of the country in favor of it. What's your take on this trend line? And aside from normalizing it, as you said, that the gay community is doing here, what do you think is the biggest factor in that change?
The biggest factor in that change has been the propaganda of the popular culture on young people, number one, and something that's almost never talked about, and that is the power of law. When something is legal, a lot of people begin to accept it. And when it's not legal, they don't accept it. The legalizing something gives an imprimatur to behavior or to activities. Many people who, for instance, would like to smoke pot don't smoke pot if it's illegal, but if it is legal, they smoke it and it becomes more acceptable.
Which brings me to the point, Dr. Land.
There is a tutoring that comes in a democracy from what is legal and what is not legal.
And it brings me to the point. I want to give the last word to Javier Manjarris when you see this. I'm doing my best, Javier. My poor pronunciation notwithstanding, the point that Dr. Land makes about legality, and we have seen this Department of Justice and attorneys general who happen to be Democrats across the country rushing into court, going into federal court to do in the courts what could not be done at the ballot box. So Dr. Land's point about suddenly it being legal leads to the acceptance. About 30 seconds.
There is, he's absolutely right. But again, it takes legal measures like that, attorneys to try to overturn laws, because look, we tried it here in Florida, it didn't work. We've tried in a lot of states, California, for instance, and it passed. But majority of the people want same-sex, are opposed of same-sex marriage. But again, there's activists out there, gay rights activists, who will counter that and look to the courts to change the rulings.
It is obviously a story that will command our attention for the days to come. Dr. Richard Land Skyping in from Charlotte. Javier Manjarres right here from the Shark Tank. I'm working on it. John Bogman as always. And most of all, you at home, we thank you for listening to this particular portion of our group discussion. And we'd like you to weigh in. Why don't you tweet us your comments on changing social mores at Newsmax TV, #America's Forum.